What is up, guys? Joker here. Today we're going to be talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider. I got a news story to update you guys, but for people that maybe aren't familiar with what's been going on with Rise of the Tomb Raider in the past year or so, it originally launched on the Xbox One as a timed exclusive for the Microsoft Xbox One. It is now coming out on the PC at the end of this month on January 28th. We just got that final release date. And we've also got some rumored minimum system requirements as well, which we talked about on TGW. I'll link to that story down in the description below as well. I'm not going to talk about that today since we already covered it on the podcast, but we did get a leaked screenshot, or it looks like an off-screen image of the graphics options for Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now, we had already talked a little bit about maybe if there's going to be VXAO in the game, which is their voxel-based ambient occlusion from NVIDIA. We know now that Tomb Raider is being bundled with NVIDIA cards, so it is like an NVIDIA sort of like GameWorks title, or not a GameWorks title, but they're doing deals with NVIDIA, and they do have GameWorks in it, so I guess it is a GameWorks title, isn't it? They're putting in that VXAO. But they're also going to be putting in Purehair, which is a AMD technology. It's actually sort of an evolution of TressFX, which we saw in the previous Tomb Raider title, which was actually quite well done. It was open source, so NVIDIA was able to optimize for it as well as AMD. NVIDIA did have issues initially upon launch, and SLI issues with the TressFX a little bit longer than just single card users with the TressFX, but eventually they did get it ironed out, and it did work pretty well, and it was open source, so I have to credit AMD for that. So I'm curious to see this Purehair technology. We have already seen minor glimpses of it some time ago. We actually had thought that it wasn't going to be making an appearance until Deus Ex Online or Deus Ex Human Revolution, but it looks like we are going to get it in this new Tomb Raider game. There was no official announcement about it, but since we got the graphics options, we could see it there at the bottom, and we also got the rest of the graphics options here. We can see that we do have our texture quality, anisotropic, and shadow quality. Now, we don't know if these are the highest options available, and the reason I say that is because we see, like, ambient occlusion. They just have that going to high. Now, we know that this is supposed to have VXAO. Usually when it has a specific technology like that, it's labeled as such, and it's not just called high. It will be high and then VXAO if NVIDIA were to put in the VXAO ambient occlusion technology, or if AMD were to put in anything specific there. It would usually be after like the low, medium, high, very high settings. We also have a toggle here for FXAA, but you'll notice that there's no other anti-aliasing option in here, which is kind of concerning. That's quite troublesome. Kurt brought that up to me actually, because yeah, it's like, well, it's only going to be FXAA. That's not great. I don't like FXAA, and I don't like not FXAA, so I want more anti-aliasing options, if I could be honest here. We'll have to see when the final games come out if this is accurate to the final release, but if it is, I don't like that particularly. We also have depth of field in here, as well as level of detail, tessellation, screen space reflections, dynamic foliage, very nice. You got that turned up to very high in here. Bloom, vignette blur, and motion blur, and finally Purehair. Those last two options before Purehair, the vignette blur and motion blur, guarantee the moment I turn the game on, those will be turned off if they are on by default for some weird reason, because they sound awful. I don't like vignetting, I don't like motion blur, and I certainly don't like motion blurs added to my vignettes. So yeah, can we just stop adding the negative visual effects into games like it's a feature? It's not, man. It's not. Like chromatic aberration, it's been in so many games like it's a graphics option, like it's a feature. Photographers and videographers spend a lot of time and money just to get rid of this thing called chromatic aberration, and here comes game developers, oh, we just want to go stick it in there like it's a feature. Like, no, that's it's an anomaly that photographers and videographers don't want. It's something they try to prevent, so that when they're editing their photos later in Lightroom, they don't go and look, oh, fuck, chromatic aberration, now I gotta fucking fix that. It's like, no, that's why they do it at the hardware level, so they don't have to see it. And here you go injecting it into video games. I don't know. That was a ramble. There's a lot of rambling in 2016 I've noticed here on this channel, but there's no chromatic aberration in this game. But I'm just talking about these visual effects that look terrible and developers put them in the games. Why? Why do we need this shit? Like film grain. That's another one. Like, no. Unless you make the game like, I don't know, like 1940s black and white style. I don't know. Even that would be pretty terrible. I don't know. It would have to be an amazing game. It could be an interesting art style. But we also do have a screenshot here, which was released recently. This is a 4K screenshot I'll link to this article down in the description below. There's quite a few screenshots. But this one, most accurately and up close, shows the hair of Lara in the game. So it looks gorgeous. We talked about this on TGW. It looks absolutely amazing. You can see every single strand of hair on her head. So that pure hair looks really, really good. I just hope that our hardware can run it and that it's well optimized when it comes out. It doesn't like break SLI or flicker all over the place, because whenever I see this type of technology, stuff like this, that's usually like what happens. Like it'll cause things like flickering, especially with SLI. If you are an SLI user, I've had a lot of issues in the past with physics when they start introducing advanced stuff like this. So it's going to be interesting to see when it comes out. I really enjoyed the last Tomb Raider, man. That was a great reboot. Like, even though it annoyed me on so many levels when it came out, because of how simplified it was compared to the previous Tomb Raider titles, which were really very difficult, quite difficult, especially with the puzzles, very difficult. There was like no hand-holding whatsoever, and then came this game, which has like no tombs, and it has a lot of hand-holding, which annoyed the fuck out of me, but they wound up producing a really good game at the end of it. It just, in my opinion, it wasn't a great Tomb Raider game. It was just a great game, I guess. I guess I prefer the previous Tomb Raider titles better as far as gameplay style is concerned. I know they're bringing more tombs into this game. I just hope the puzzles are a little bit more difficult. Anything that just involves me pressing a single key on the keyboard that highlights an entire room, which basically tells me how to solve a puzzle, I'm sorry, that's not a fucking puzzle. That's just an interactive room. That's like walking in a room, pressing a button, and something happens. You just made me do a few more steps. I hate that kind of shit. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below. I'm going to get out of here. Let me know what you think about the graphics options, the Purehair over not having NVIDIA Hairworks, which is really interesting to me since this is being bundled with NVIDIA GPUs. We have seen in games like GTA 5 in the past has had NVIDIA and AMD technologies right alongside each other, so this is not the first time this has happened, but it's interesting to see. So let me know your thoughts about that, and I will catch you guys in the next video. I've never said that before. I'll catch you guys next time. There you go. That's me. I'll catch you guys next time. Sure.